16th annual conference at the John Madejski Centre of Reputation at Henley Business School looked at the power of purpose. The prominent speakers included Sir Richard Lambert, Chair of the British Museum, and Sir Victor Blank, who headed up Lloyds Bank during the credit crisis. Sir Richard Lambert went from the editor of the Financial Times and the Monetary Policy Committee to working in the not-for-profit sector.
I was really lucky to be working for the Financial Times at a moment of complete change in the industry, so that it became possible to do things which were completely impossible when technology wasn't there and when the print unions ran everything. So we could imagine and dream about being a truly international news organisation. So that was great, and that was a purpose. At the Monetary Policy Committee, I learnt an enormous amount about how the economy worked, which came as a bit of a surprise to me in some ways. On from that, with the CBI, that was the same as well. There you had, lucky, privileged thing. You went and saw all these companies all around the country doing amazing things. From that you learnt what their priorities were, and you came back to London and said to the politicians, this is what the people in Halifax are thinking now. So it was great. It was a bit like being a journalist. Purpose is not something that is simply defined. You can't have a single metric or a benchmark. It's like saying, how healthy am I? You don't have one measure for that. You don't say, my temperature's okay, so I'm fine. It's like the same of that with business and non-profits. It's what are the things that go together to make this great? And usually the answer is, how do we provide a service for customers that they're happy with and prepared to pay for? In the case of a not-for-profit, that's not the question, because nobody pays to come to the British Museum. The question is, how can we make these astonishing treasures tell contemporary stories and help us understand, our common humanity?
The impact of the credit crisis is still an issue, but not as prevalent as when Lloyds Bank took over HBOS in 2008. Since then, Lloyds TSB has become one of the most successful retail banks on the high street.
Somebody said to me, this is going back 15 years, but somebody said to me, if you're asked to be the chairman of a clearing bank, you don't have a choice. You have an obligation to our community to take it on. But you have to address critical things. And at the time of Lloyds and the financial crisis, it was like trying to catch a sword that was dropping from a great height. Things were changing all the time. All you could do was act on the best advice you had, the best opinions you had, and try to build something for the future. We could have retreated into our shells, and that would have been bad, both I think for Lloyds and for the whole financial community. Or we could move on and help to create, which I think Lloyds now is, by far the best and most successful retail bank in the high street. I think we're in the middle of dramatic change. I'm involved with a big project with the British Academy here, where we're looking at the future of the corporation, and what that's likely to say is that companies have to look not just at immediate financial value for shareholders, but at a broader sense of purpose, looking at attitude towards and action towards climate change, environment, pay and rations, different stakeholders, customers, employees, child labour, plastic bags, all of that. I do believe fundamentally in giving things back. I've been very lucky in my career, and I've got to know a lot of people, and I've learned a lot of things. And if you don't stop and make sure that you're putting something back into the community, then you're failing.
The John Madejski Centre of Reputation was founded in 2000 as the first dedicated academic research centre in the field of reputation and relationships. The John Madejski Academy, a secondary school in Reading, opened its doors in 2005.
Your reputation is so vastly important, and I think this is coming even more clearer in this day and age. Now we've got all these other big issues to contend with, i.e. survival of the planet and so on, where big multinationals and even smaller companies have got to look to their reputation to make sure that they're going to behave in a way, in a responsible way, and if they can do more, they should do it. And they've got that responsibility to this world and to themselves and to their employees and to their customers. And people are looking out for that now in a way they've never done before, to make sure they're contributing to the welfare of everybody, not just themselves and their shareholders and the goal of profit. They've got to make sure their reputation is sacrosanct. I think if one's fortunate enough to do well in life, I think it's only you have the behest of putting back into society where you have been successful, and I put rather a lot back in the years gone by. When I leave the mortal toil, I'll have felt, hopefully, that I've left the world in a better place than I found it.
The one common thread between all three successful leaders at the 16th annual conference is once they had found their purpose, they understood how powerful it is to give something back. Ali Monjak for that.